Have you ever wondered why some children grow up confident, calm, and always believing they are worthy of love, while other children, no matter how intelligent they are, live with fear, self-doubt, and constantly seek validation from other people? The amazing thing is, the answer does not begin during the teenage years. It does not begin when children start school. It begins during the very first years of life, when the brain is developing faster than at any other time in a human lifetime. There is a period when every word a parent speaks is like a seed being planted into a child's mind. Every look, every hug, every moment you truly listen, or every moment you unintentionally ignore them. All of these are helping write the story your child will carry for the rest of their life. The frightening part is, most parents do not even realize it. They think their child is too young to understand. They think a few harsh words will quickly be forgotten. They think children will not remember, but science gives us a completely different answer. A child may not remember the exact words you said, but their brain will always remember how you made them feel, and those feelings gradually become their beliefs about themselves, about family, about love, and about the world. If today you are the parent of a newborn, or you are raising a child under the age of 7, then this video may become one of the most meaningful gifts you will ever give your child. Because once you understand how a child's brain works, you will understand why very small actions can create extraordinarily large effects. You will also understand why so many adults still carry the wounds of childhood, even when they cannot explain where those wounds came from. And more importantly, you will discover what you can do, starting today, to help your child grow up with a healthy heart, a resilient mind, and an unshakable belief that says, "I have value." Let's begin. When a baby is born, their brain is not yet fully developed, the way many people imagine. In reality, a child's brain is building millions of new neural connections every single day. Every experience, every sound, every familiar face helps build those connections. That means children do not learn through words alone. They learn through experience. They learn through emotion. They learn by watching. There is something very fascinating that many parents have never heard before. During the early years, a child's brain works very differently from an adult's brain. Children do not yet have the ability to analyze situations with adult logic. When parents become angry, a child does not think, "Maybe mom and dad are just stressed today." Instead, they often feel, "Maybe I did something wrong." When parents repeatedly lose patience, children do not think the adults are under pressure from work. Instead, they often conclude, "Maybe I am not good enough." That is why the experiences that happen again and again inside the family slowly become deep beliefs. If a child is consistently listened to, they learn that their thoughts matter. If every mistake is met with calm guidance, they learn that mistakes are opportunities to grow. If they are hugged when they are afraid, they learn that the world is still a safe place. On the other hand, if tears are always treated as weakness, if every mistake is answered with yelling, if emotions are constantly dismissed, then children slowly learn to hide their true selves. Many adults today spend their lives trying to please other people. They are afraid of rejection, afraid of making mistakes, afraid to speak their true thoughts. Those patterns did not simply appear when they became adults. Many of them began with the messages they received when they were very young. A child who is only praised when they achieve high results may grow up believing their worth depends on performance. A child who only receives attention when they are obedient may learn to hide every negative emotion. A child who is constantly compared to siblings or friends may slowly believe they will never be good enough. The important thing to understand is that these beliefs are rarely formed after a single experience. They are built through thousands of tiny moments, a single sentence, a single look, a single hug. One moment when a parent gives their full attention, or one moment when a parent turns away because they are simply too busy. It is repetition that creates real power. A child's brain is like a forest. Every experience is like someone walking through it. The path that is traveled most often slowly becomes a trail. Then it becomes a road. Eventually, it becomes a highway. If every day a child hears that they are loved, that pathway becomes stronger and stronger. If every day a child feels like a burden, the brain builds that pathway instead. The good news is that parents do not have to be perfect. There is no perfect family. There is no mother who is always calm. There is no father who has never made a mistake. Children do not need perfection. They need consistency. They need to know that even when they make mistakes, they are still loved. They need to know that when the outside world feels frightening, their family will always be the place they can return to. Research on secure attachment shows that children who feel safe with their parents are generally better at regulating their emotions, building healthy relationships, and developing lasting confidence as they grow older. That feeling of safety does not come from expensive toys. It does not come from academic classes at an early age. It does not come from pushing children to be better than everyone else. It comes from very simple things. A hug when they cry, a smile when they turn around looking for you, a gentle voice that says, "It's okay, Mom and Dad are right here." That is the very first foundation of a healthy soul, and it is a foundation that no school can ever replace. Maybe, after hearing this, you are asking yourself, what if I have yelled at my child before? What if I have lost my patience? What if I have made many mistakes? If that is what you are thinking, keep watching, because in the next part, we are going to talk about the everyday parenting habits that seem completely normal, yet quietly weaken a child's self-esteem, resilience, and emotional intelligence. More importantly, you will learn how to change them before it is too late. Now, let's talk about something that many parents never intentionally do, yet it happens in almost every family. It is the unintentional act of leaving emotional scars through very small actions that happen every single day. No parent wakes up in the morning and tells themselves, "Today, I am going to hurt my child." Every parent loves their child. But love, when it is not guided by understanding, can sometimes leave lasting effects. Imagine a child has just spilled a glass of milk. The very first thing they do is look at their parents. That look is not only asking who is going to clean up the milk, it is waiting for the answer to a much bigger question. When I make a mistake, how do my parents see me? If the child receives a shout, a disappointed look, or words like, "You are always so careless," "You never pay attention," then over time, the child will no longer think, "I spilled a glass of milk." They will begin to think, "I am a careless child." That is the difference between correcting a behavior and labeling a person. When you say, "What you did was not the right choice," you are helping your child focus on the behavior. But when you say, "You are a bad child," you are teaching them to connect their mistakes with their identity. Children who grow up in an environment where they are constantly labeled often carry feelings of insecurity into adulthood. They become afraid to try new things, afraid to fail, afraid of being judged, not because they lack ability, but because deep inside they keep hearing an old voice, a voice that was formed many years ago. Another habit that is extremely common is comparison. You may only want to encourage your child. You say, "Look at your friend, see how well they behave," or "Your brother can do it." But what your child hears is something completely different. "I am not good enough." Comparison rarely creates lasting motivation. More often, it creates shame, competition, or the belief that love must be earned through achievement. Over time, children may grow up becoming people who constantly try to please others, not because they truly want to, but because they are afraid of losing approval. Another common habit is solving every problem for your child. Today, many parents love their children so deeply that they do not want them to experience even the smallest disappointment. When the child faces difficulty, the parent steps in. When the child argues with a friend, the parent takes over. When the child fails, the parent immediately tries to erase every consequence. This comes from love. But when it happens too often, children never get the opportunity to learn how to face challenges. Resilience does not develop when life is always easy. It grows when children are allowed to experience age-appropriate challenges while knowing their parents are standing right behind them, ready to support them. There is a beautiful saying, "Do not clear every road for your child. Teach your child how to walk the road." That is the gift that lasts a lifetime. Another thing that emotional science has shown us is that children learn how to manage their emotions by watching the adults around them. If parents shout every time they get angry, children will believe that shouting is the normal way to deal with conflict. If parents withdraw and stay silent every time they feel sad, children will learn to bury their own emotions. But if children see their parents take a deep breath, apologize when they are wrong, listen before reacting, those become the most valuable lessons that no book could ever replace. Perhaps the hardest part of parenting is not raising your child. It is raising yourself. Because children do not do what we tell them to do. They do what they see us doing. If you want your child to respect other people, let them see you respecting others. If you want your child to be honest, even in the smallest things. If you want your child to know how to apologize, let them see that you are brave enough to say, "I am sorry." That does not take away your authority as a parent. Quite the opposite. It teaches your child that making mistakes is part of being human. What matters is learning how to make things right. Another factor that has a tremendous impact on a child's psychology is presence. Many parents work all day to give their children a better life. That is deeply admirable. But sometimes what your child needs most is not the gift you bought. It is 15 minutes when you belong completely to them. No phone, no computer, no answering messages. Just you, just your child. And a real conversation. To a child, those moments feel like a message that says, "I matter." And feeling valued is the foundation of healthy self-esteem. When children believe they have value, they become less vulnerable to criticism from the outside world. But if they grow up believing they must constantly prove themselves just to be noticed, they may spend their entire lives searching for approval from others. There are many successful adults who achieve great things in their careers, yet still do not feel truly happy. Because deep inside, they are still the little child trying to prove they are good enough. You have the power to change that story for your child, starting today. You do not need grand gestures. Just begin by listening a little more, hugging your child a little longer, being patient a little more often. And remember that every single day adds one more brick to the emotional foundation your child is building. A strong foundation will help them stand firm through the storms of life. But if that foundation is full of cracks, they may spend many years during adolescence and adulthood trying to repair it on their own. The good news is that you still have time. Every time you choose calm instead of anger, every time you choose to listen instead of judge, every time you choose to guide instead of control, you are helping your child's brain build new pathways connected to safety, to trust, and to unconditional love. That is the greatest gift any mother or father could ever give their child. There is one truth that many parents do not realize until it is far too late. One day, your child will no longer believe everything you tell them. They will begin to ask their own questions, make their own comparisons, search for answers from the outside world. That is a completely natural part of growing up. But what matters is not that your child starts listening to other people. What matters is whether the foundation you built during those early years is strong enough. Imagine that a child's mind is like a house under construction. The first 7 years are spent building the foundation. After that, other people begin walking into that house: friends, teachers, the internet, social media, celebrities, influencers. If the foundation is strong, the house will remain standing. If the foundation is weak, even a strong wind can shake the entire structure. That is why so many parents are surprised when their child reaches the teenage years. They often say, "My child was so well behaved when they were little. I do not understand why everything changed as they grew older." The truth is, that change did not happen overnight. It was built over many years. If a child always feels heard at home, then when they struggle at school, the very first person they think about will be their parents. If a child always feels judged, then when something goes wrong, the first thing they think about is hiding it from their parents. That is a huge difference. Parents do not lose their influence simply because their children grow older. Parents lose influence when their children no longer feel safe enough to share. There is one question every mother and every father should ask themselves. If your child went through something terrible today, who would they run to first? If the answer is mom or dad, then you have built something incredibly valuable. If the answer is a friend or a stranger on the internet, that is a sign that something needs to change. Today, children are growing up surrounded by endless sources of information. With nothing more than a smartphone, they can access millions of pieces of content every single day. Some of it is inspiring, but much of it quietly teaches children to doubt themselves. They see perfect lives, perfect faces, perfect success stories, and slowly they begin to believe they are not enough. If parents have not yet helped them build healthy self-esteem, those negative messages can take root very easily. But if a child has grown up hearing every single day, "You have value, you are loved, you do not need to be perfect to be accepted," then the voices from the outside world will have far less power to shake them. That is the power of emotional connection. The amazing thing is that children do not remember every gift you ever bought for them, but they do remember how it felt to bake together on a weekend. They remember the whole family laughing together around the dinner table. They remember the bedtime stories you read before they fell asleep. They remember the moments when you held them close after a difficult day. The human brain holds onto emotions far longer than it holds on to details. That is why you should create as many positive memories as you can. It does not have to cost a lot of money. It simply requires your presence. A family dinner without phones, a walk together, a simple game, a conversation before bedtime. Those moments may seem small, but they are quietly building trust. And trust is what allows parents to remain the most important voice in a child's heart, even as they grow older. Some parents believe that the only way to make children listen is to be strict. The truth is, children do not continue to listen because they are afraid. They listen because they have respect. Fear creates obedience for a moment. Respect creates influence for a lifetime. When children are afraid of their parents, they behave only when their parents are watching. But when children respect their parents, they make the right choices even when no one is there to see them. That is the true goal of parenting. Not controlling every action, but helping your child build an inner moral compass. A compass that will continue to guide them long after you are no longer standing beside them. Another thing that is incredibly important is teaching children how to name their emotions. Instead of saying, "Stop crying," try asking, "Are you feeling sad?" instead of saying, "There is nothing to be afraid of." Try saying, "I understand that you are feeling worried." When children learn to recognize their emotions, they also learn how to manage those emotions. That is the foundation of emotional intelligence, a skill that influences long-term happiness just as much as intelligence does. Children who understand their own emotions often build healthier relationships. They cooperate more easily. They are less aggressive, less anxious, and more confident as they move into adulthood. The wonderful thing is that every parent can begin today. You do not need to wait for a special occasion. You do not need to wait for next year. You can begin tonight. When your child goes to bed, sit beside them for a few extra minutes. Ask them one simple question. What made you the happiest today? What made you the saddest today? Then simply listen. Do not interrupt. Do not judge. Do not rush to give advice. Sometimes what a child needs most is not an answer. It is knowing that someone is always willing to listen. It is through those small conversations that a bridge of connection is built. And that bridge will help you remain the person your child turns to, even during the most difficult chapters of their life. Before we end this video, I want you to take a few seconds and think about one question. If, 20 years from now, your child is asked, "What made you feel the most loved when you were a child?" What would you hope their answer to be? Will they remember the expensive toys, the beautiful clothes, or the luxurious family vacations? They may remember some of those things, but what stays with us the longest is usually not material things. What stays the longest is a feeling. The feeling of being hugged when they were afraid, being listened to when they were sad, being encouraged after they failed, being forgiven after making a mistake, being loved without having to prove their worth. Those are the memories that quietly shape a human being from the inside. There is a tremendous difference between raising a child to become successful and raising a child to become happy. Many parents spend so much time teaching their children how to win, but they forget to teach them how to stand up again after they fall. We teach our children to earn high grades, but we rarely teach them how to face sadness. We teach them to be strong, but without even realizing it, we sometimes make them believe that crying is something to be ashamed of. The truth is, an emotionally healthy child is not a child who never cries. It is a child who knows they can cry and still be loved, who knows they can make mistakes without being rejected, who knows their worth does not depend on grades, awards, or praise from other people. That is the foundation that allows a child to walk into life with confidence. It is a gift that no one can ever take away. Throughout the journey of parenthood, there will be days when you feel completely exhausted. There will be moments when you lose your patience. There will be times when you say something you wish you had never said. That does not make you a bad father or a bad mother. What truly matters is your willingness to repair the relationship. If today you yelled at your child, hug them before they go to sleep. If today you misunderstood your child, say, "I'm sorry." If today you were too busy to play with your child, set aside a few minutes tomorrow. Children do not need perfect parents. They need parents who know how to love, who are willing to learn, and who are willing to grow. There is one thing that countless studies in developmental psychology continue to agree on. What nourishes a child is not only food, not only school, not only living conditions. What truly nourishes a child is the relationship they have with the people who care for them. Every time you choose a little more patience, you are teaching your child how to be patient. Every time you show kindness to another person, you are teaching your child compassion. Every time you keep your promise, you are teaching your child integrity. Every time you listen until your child finishes speaking, you are telling them, "You deserve to be heard." Never underestimate the power of small moments. A hug that lasts 10 seconds longer, a simple thank you. A sentence like, "We are proud of you because you kept trying." An evening when the whole family shares dinner and talks together. Those moments may become the memories your child carries for the rest of their life. One day, your child will grow up. They will make their own decisions. They may move to another city. They may start a family of their own. They may become a mother or a father. And then, during the most important moments of their life, they will unconsciously remember the way they were raised. They will speak to their own children the way you once spoke to them. They will love the way they were loved. They will face hardships the way they were taught to face them. That is the greatest legacy parents leave behind. Not money, not possessions, but the way a human being sees themselves and the way they see the world. If there is one thing I hope you remember after watching this entire video, it is this. You do not need to do everything perfectly. You simply need to be a little more present every day. Love a little more every day. Be a little more patient every day, because the small things repeated day after day create the biggest changes in a child's life. If this video gave you a new perspective today, please take a moment to share it with a father, a mother, or anyone who is caring for a young child. Perhaps just one idea from this video could change the way they raise their children. If you enjoy content about child psychology, the science of parenting, and emotional development, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you will not miss our future videos. Every week, we share knowledge based on psychology, developmental science, and real-life experience with one goal: to help families create an environment where children grow up feeling safe, respected, and deeply loved. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. That tells me you do not simply want to raise a child. You want to nurture a human being, and that is one of the most beautiful gifts any child could ever receive. See you in the next video.